Right now, decide to move your finger. Feel that moment, the instant where you chose, where the intention formed and your hand responded. It feels immediate. It feels like the very first link in the chain. But neuroscience has spent decades quietly building a case that your brain made that decision before you knew you'd made it. In the early 1980s, neuroscientist Benjamin Libet ran an experiment that's been unsettling people ever since. He asked participants to perform a simple, spontaneous action, flicking their wrist whenever they felt like it, with no external cue telling them when. While they did this, he measured their brain activity, and he asked them to watch a fast-moving clock and note the exact moment they became consciously aware of their intention to move. The brain, it turned out, wasn't waiting for that moment of awareness. A distinct pattern of electrical activity, called the readiness potential, began building in the brain's motor regions before participants reported feeling like they'd decided anything. Not by a trivial amount either. On average, several hundred milliseconds before conscious awareness of the intention. The brain wasn't reacting to a decision. It was already assembling one, and consciousness appeared to be catching up after the fact. Think about what that implies. The subjective experience of choosing, that feeling of being the author of the moment, might not be the starting gun of the action. It might be more like a headline arriving after the story has already begun to write itself, a kind of after-the-fact narration your brain generates to explain something it initiated on its own.
This is where the science gets genuinely contested, and it's worth sitting with that instead of rushing past it. Some researchers argue Libet's findings are strong evidence against the traditional, intuitive idea of free will, that conscious intention isn't actually the cause of our actions at all, just a kind of internal press release issued after the decision-making has already happened elsewhere in the brain. Other researchers push back hard, arguing the readiness potential might just reflect general neural noise or preparatory activity, not necessarily a fully formed specific decision. Critics have also questioned whether flicking a wrist whenever you feel like it is really comparable to the more complex, deliberated decisions that make up most of a person's actual life. More recent studies using improved recording techniques have added further nuance rather than settling the question outright. Some suggest the readiness potential may reflect a buildup of general readiness to act at some point, rather than a specific commitment to act at a specific moment, meaning conscious will might still play a meaningful role in whether an already forming action actually gets carried out, even if it didn't spark the very first flicker of activity. None of this means your choices are fake, or that you're a passenger in your own life with no say in anything. What it does suggest is that the relationship between the brain's activity and your conscious sense of deciding is stranger and less linear than it feels from the inside. Decision-making might be less like a single spark you ignite on command, and more like a process already underway that awareness gets folded into partway through. So go back to that finger, the one you decided to move a few minutes ago. Somewhere in your motor cortex, activity may have already been building before you felt the intention arrive. You didn't imagine that feeling of choosing. It happened. But it may not have been where the choice actually started. It may have simply been the moment you found out.